All right, guys, we're back. Another edition of Talking Preps. Guru, I'm going to throw it right to you. You got the 1A rankings. You don't have to go through them. Tell us about these games.
Well, really, there's only a couple that I think that are going to be in question. Again, I think it's collision course most likely between Mount Airy and Tarboro. Although there is a game of note featuring Mount Airy Eastern Randolph. Coach Burton Cage, he's a legend in the state. He's taking the troops up to Mount Airy. I think that's going to be a big game. It's on my short list. I'm trying to decide if I want to go there or a big game in Charlotte.
There's a lot of big games this week. We're also going to break down Mr. Football. I turned Grice and Griner loose to try to pick the final three players of the year. And it's going to be difficult. We're going to get to that later. But Chris, tell us about the 2A. There's the rankings. Tell us about the games.
Again, I feel like it's Clinton and everybody else. Of course, I don't want to shortchange any of these teams. There's a bunch of teams still playing in the state, and these guys all are elite. A lot of us keep picking against Bunker Hill every week after week. I see it in the picks. I've done it as well. They're going to go up and take on Reidsville, the football capital of North Carolina. That's a game that I've got circled. Shelby's another team that just seems to be kind of rising out of the woodwork. They beat that really good Salisbury squad, and somebody's going to be able to take on Clinton most likely. And we got it's Thanksgiving week, so we got some fun games Friday night.
Cam with that Whiteville over Northeastern pick. That's kind of interesting right there. Grice is shaking his head.
Whiteville, I think that's the smartest pick I've seen by Cam all year. I say Whiteville by about 14.
Ooh, okay.
Don't forget, I drove to Elizabeth City last week.
3A Guru.
3A is as tough as it gets. Obviously, we got Coach on here, and he knows all there is to know about Crest and some of these other teams out there. 3A is tough. Crest's going to take on Dudley. Those two teams flip-flopped for number one in the 3A a couple different times this year. So we get a chance to see them. There you go. You see number 10, West Charlotte in the mix. Got a couple other teams, even with the loss, J.M. Robinson's hung in there in the rankings. The game that I probably got circled other than the Crest-Dudley game, which I think is incredible, is that game right under it, West Henderson and Hickory, two undefeated teams going at it. I think that one's going to be a really high-scoring ball game.
All right, before we get to the 4A, we're going to find out who Mr. Grice picked as his Grice's Gems of North Carolina Players of the Week. And Sam actually showed up this week. Sam was there. Right, Sam? No beers.
Barely there.
Barely there. All right, here's Grice's Gems.
What's going on, Griner? Another week of Grice's Gems. Man, I saved your seat on the couch, unfortunately. I was rooting for you, listening on the show, trying to get there. Hopefully you brought the guacamole, as I got the bag of chips here. But let's talk about some guys that are going to keep their season going. Let's get into it. The first guy, we went up to Greensboro, my hometown, my area, had to bring on Andrew Atmore in a big 50-28 win over J.M. Robinson. Andrew Atmore completed 22 of 32 passes, Griner, for 378 and 8 touchdowns, Griner. 8 touchdowns. This kid was amazing. I actually had the privilege of watching a good chunk of this game, and he really took a step up. I mean, you see the big throw there under big-time pressure. Mm-hmm. Great job, Andrew Atmore. Had to get him on here. Salute to head coach Stephen Davis, my high school teammate, the OC, Antonio Hall. They dialed up a great game.
Antonio Hall, baby. Cat you.
I had to do it. Let's move forward to Cleveland County. Let's go to Shelby. We've talked about this guy, I feel like, at length. He's probably got more Grice's Gems. He got more GGs than me and you have. Zay Bridges. That's right. Zay Bridges out of Shelby. In a big 38-21 win over Salisbury in Salisbury. Bridges caught 9 passes for 237 yards in their big third-round victory. Granted, we've talked about him, I feel like, for years. He's like Greg Paulus back for Duke in the days. I'm still shocked he's playing high school football. Still killing it.
Yeah, I mean, I could use him in fantasy football today, actually, with these 9 catches, 237. I mean, that's unbelievable receiver. Unbelievable.
Definitely. Let's go out west. The Granite Bears, Tyler Mason, the senior running back, ran 11 times for 262 yards and 4 touchdowns in a big 64-26 win over Murphy in the third round of the NC1A playoffs. Big-time guy. Again, in 1A ball, you got a guy that can go and tote that rock. Hey, I tell you, he's running. I always laugh because you always see those officials behind him running. Those officials got a good track workout in, been throwing their hands up. That is a big-time yards per carry, yards per attempt there. Big game there for Tyler over Murphy. I love watching these guys out west play because you got some guys that can play ball. Salute to you, Tyler. Let's bring it a little bit closer. Let's still say a little bit northwest of here. Brady Stober out of Hickory. We all know Joe Glass is going to put together a program, and they had a big 61-38 win over AC Reynolds. And Stober was 23 of 27 for 523 yards and 6 touchdowns, Griner. 523 and 6. We need to get Coach Glass on here, friend of the show. He's doing it big. How do you're dialing up passes like that against a team with a great defense like we know. This kid though set a new single game school record. Oh, he beat his own record, Griner. You know you love you don't get to take the nameplate off and put your name over your own name. He's thrown for more than 3,000 yards this year, Griner, which is probably more than the quarterbacks back at Harding had in 4 total years. But again, great performance here by Brady. Big time performance here. I mean, that is incredible, the performances we're seeing. But Griner, you know we got to do it. We got to bring on the guy. Got to bring on one of the
bring
best.
Bring him on. He earned it.
One of the best players in the state. We got to set him up again. Yes, that face, if you do not recognize, maybe if you're outside of Cleveland County, because if he's there, I heard he's recognized from the beginning to the end of the county. Yes, that is Natavius Husky here at Crest High School. In a 30 Griner. I had 2. So Natavius, we'll get to you in a second. My first 2 games, the two guys, the teams we played against, those guys were Grice's Gems, and I had to bring them on and talk about how they whooped our team's butt. So, it gets a little humbling as coaches and being on this show. So Griner gets a little taste of that. But let's give the fans out there an understanding of what you did this past game here. In a big 30-29 comeback win over West Charlotte. You were 14 of 27 for 198 and 3 touchdowns. Also had 12 rushes for 49 yards and 1 touchdown. And let's also talk about that gutsy 2-point conversion at the end of the game, the walk-off, that you were able to get that ball in the end zone, throwing it to one of your big-time receivers to win the game. First, I got to hear about that play. What was the call? You probably knew that Coach Husby was going to call that play.
Yeah,
you were going to go out and win the game. Did you have any input? What did you say?
I knew what the play was going to be. I knew we wasn't going to kick the ball. The lineman actually wanted to run the ball, but I wanted to – God. I wanted to run the ball.
So what was the call? What did you say? Did you get in the huddle and say, guys, I got it. Coach wants this. We're gonna do this. Well, how'd it go?
Oh, so
without question.
The play was the play action play because, I had the run play that I faked him on. That was the same play, but I pulled it again, and I had a passing option with it, and it just worked perfectly. He was wide open.
I'm going to clear out and leave here to Coach Sam Griner. I'm going to let y'all 2 talk about it. Y'all 2 were on both sidelines of this wonderful game. Coach Griner, it's all yours.
Yeah, just big ups to you, man. You guys, you were down heavily in the game. There was a time it was 3rd and long. I think you sparked the team really well. What was the big play that got you going? You would think was the big touchdown pass to number 6 in the 3rd quarter. What did you see? It looked like it was a hash-to-hash throw. You saw that it was cover 3. You looked off one way, threw it back to the other hash. What did you see there?
That pass was to number 2, but yeah, I looked off the safety. I knew what coverage I would learn. But yeah, I looked off the safety and I came back to it. But you had pressure, number 20. He got pressure on my left tackle, but I just stepped up. And then I seen him, and I just let it go. But that was a big momentum changer. It just kind of sparked us.
No doubt. I think that's the spark you needed in the game. And it's not, being down, talk about the mindset to be able to have 3 2-point conversions in a row. How amazing is that? That's hard to do. It's one play. It's not a set of downs. I mean, 3 2-point conversions in a row. 2 of them were similar off that little reverse fake thing, and the last one was what you did to win the game. But 2-point conversion, just after y'all missed the extra point, that's kind of your mindset to get back into the game was 2-point conversions?
I kind of think about that as that we've been in so many close games that our team that they just come together. They don't break apart. We just stay together, and I think that really helps us. When we go for those big moments that people would think are big moments, they aren't that big to us because we feel like we should be able to do that just because we just think we should be able to do that just because we practice it so hard.
I hear Grice got something.
I can put y'all in a room and talk. I can put y'all in a room and let y'all go back and forth for an hour. I love hearing this football knowledge. I think kids, this is a lesson. We need to send this video out to parents who think their kids are ready for college ball. As a college-ready athlete, you can hear it in just the way he carries himself. Salute to you there for that. But I got to ask, the nickname. I heard it's Tater. Can you go into how you got that nickname?
Well, when I was little, I looked like a little tater tot. I was golden and crispy, so my aunt just gave it to me, and it just stuck.
That's an
Oh,
even better answer than I
that's
thought. That is great.
that is great.
So does everybody call you that? Does like coach, like your head coach, your like
Yeah,
everyone? Or, okay,
everybody.
so this is everybody.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that why you keep like the frosted? Is that why you keep like the frosted tips a little bit? See, I got my own little hair situation, but
I actually cut it off, and I looked more like a tater tot, so I just grew it back.
I hear you, my man.
Man,
Good stuff.
the tag is Tater Husky. Hey, we thank you for coming on. Again, you have had a phenomenal season so far. I remember after your first game versus Gaffney, people you don't even know that kind of know me hitting me up saying you need to check this kid out. So you've been on our radar, one of the best players in the state. And I got a hint, you're in our final 8. I got a hint we might be talking to you very, very soon. So keep going, keep balling, doing your thing. You have another week like that, like we always say. I promise you, we're gonna bring you back on. So thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you, brother. Good job, man. Do your thing.
All right. Again, we're getting tighter. A lot fewer games, a lot more eyes that we're able to put on these games. But if you think you have a big time performance, please reach out to us. Reach out to me at Coach Jake Rice on Twitter. Reach out at Langston Works Jr. at Observer Preps, also on Twitter. Griner, we're sitting there watching these wonderful games. As we always like to say, Griner, if you ball,
you get the call.
See you next
week. I wish he wouldn't have got the call, but it's all good. Hey, would have been my quarterback. Shoot, he did pick him off twice, but he did good. He won them.
All right, Guru, we're back. Here's the 4A rankings. Tell us about these Eastern games.
All right, 4A Fight Club. A look at it right there. Some of the games of the week. I think the best 4A game in the week, and this is a statement, again, considering some of the games we've got here in the Queen City, but I think that it's Hoggard traveling up the road to take on Cleveland. Those two teams opened the season. That was a Donnybrook of a ball game. Cleveland held on to a 28-20 ball game. Two of what I think to be the best, probably the two teams that just absolutely, without a doubt, are going to smother you on defense and not make very many mistakes on offense is Hoggard and Cleveland. I like the quarterback play by both of them. I just think that this is going to be a heck of a game. I really would like to duplicate myself and go to that one as well. Mm-hmm. And then that other game, I think is going to be an interesting ball game. In my bracket to begin the playoffs, I thought that Cardinal Gibbons would find a way to sneak past Rollsville in number 2 in the second rematch of the year. I think Rollsville is probably the most talented team in the East. I don't think that's questionable. But I think that Coach Stephen Wright and, hey, for Alex Bass, Nick Drew, I think he's going to have an answer for that Rollsville team. I bet they don't hang 60 on them this time.
Tell me about that Grimsley at Weddington game. I see Cam's picking Weddington to beat the number 1 team.
Well, believe it or not, I'm picking Weddington too. I think that Weddington, I just think that, again, they're a team that, they're very sound, extremely well coached. They're dominant enough up on the lines, both lines really, I think, to be able to match up with Grimsley. Grimsley is a team that I don't think has a weakness anywhere, offense, defense, special teams, every position on the field. I think that they're very solid. But I think Weddington complements them very well. They played that tough game last year in the final round. I think that Coach Andy Capone, I think they've got something to say. I think that, the quarterback play and everything that I'm seeing from Weddington, I think that they're going to hang around it. Do I think it's going to go down to the bitter end? Most likely. Hopefully, it's settled between the white lines and the officiating don't have anything to do with it. But I think it's going to be a great game.
All right. Well, before we talk about the big Independence Butler game, we talked to both coaches. Well, Griner and Grice talked to both coaches, Brian Hales and DJ McFadden. Great interviews. I learned a new nickname for the Butler football stadium, and we'll get to that when we come back from this break. Make sure you get yourself some Deer Park water.
Deer Park is celebrating its 150th anniversary. Let's take a look back.
Deer Park, that's good water.
You can taste how pure Deer Park is.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Filtered naturally beneath the earth for a crisp, refreshing taste.
Deer Park.
Deer Park.
Deer Park. Deer Park.
That's still good water.
After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
How did you all get in here?
All right, we got a fresh face right now. It's playoff season. Forest Hill's Rodney Smith, junior running back, had 17 carries for 108 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 38-21 win over Community School of Davidson. It's a very tough team to beat. Forest Hills reached the 4th round for the first time in 15 years. For the season, Smith has 70 carries for 411 yards and 5 touchdowns, most of it coming in this big game he just had. Congratulations, Rodney Smith. Welcome to Fresh Faces. and looking forward to playing on Thanksgiving. Go get them, brother.
Welcome to Fresh Faces. Next up, we've got Kevion Rogers out of Hertford County. Yes, we are going down east with it. His quarterback is 6'3", 205 pounds. He came on our scene with a school record 8 touchdown passes in a 71-68 loss to Nash Central in the third round Friday. You know, if it's a loss and a guy puts up that many points, we got to get him on Fresh Faces here. He had 8 touchdown passes and also had a rushing touchdown. His big frame and able to get the ball out on rhythm looks a little unorthodox, but you know he knows when to get that ball out, so he's able to get it out there on time. With his big frame and good speed, he's able to take that ball and get downhill and be a tough guy for anybody to take down. Great performance in this last playoff game, but welcome to Fresh Faces, Kevion Rogers. All right, what's going on, Talking Preps family? Again, big-time games, big-time part of the year. It's Thanksgiving week. This Black Friday means we can only have a legendary coach on here, and I think this guy more than fits the bill as it pertains to North Carolina football. Yes, that is Coach Brian Hales here of Butler High School. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great tonight, guys. How y'all?
Really
Doing good. Coach. I'm blessed to, of course, follow you on socials, and I love the post. I think it was on Saturday. You informed everybody of the ticket information and about the game being in capital letters at Butler
right.
High School, not Memorial Stadium. Could you talk about that and what it means for you to play this game? What do you call it, in the dog pound out in Matthews, and how important it is to have that game there?
Well, as a matter of fact, we have a new nickname for it this year. We started calling it the Sand Pit too, because we've been to do a heck of a lot of work in putting sand in. Tripp and I have been doing an awful lot on that. So no, it's I mean, it's 100%. It's for the kids. It's about the kids, and they work so hard and they've done so much that these games should be at home. And it's if they can't, they can't. But I mean, it's they've earned the right to be here, and I'm glad that the decision was made for us to play here.
Definitely. No, I understand. And again, it's that familiar foe on the other side, familiar coach that's been on your staff. I always love, talking about playing a team that you said again, that you've played before. I had that pleasure last year. Talk about going into a game, facing a team that you beat and just how tricky that is sometimes. They're going to make adjustments, but what works for you. So how do you kind of deal with that balance as you're preparing to face them again? And honestly, facing them when you only played them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, honestly, I think that whole thing about playing a good team twice and all that stuff, I think it's a little bit overblown. Honestly, I think each game, each week really, is a life of its own. I mean, we're a different team than we were 3 weeks ago. They're a different team than they were 3 weeks ago. And, the only thing constant with that is change. And, you go back, we've talked about all the times we played each other twice in a season. However many it was, 7 times, 8 times, something like that. 2007 was the only year we split. Whoever won the first game won the second game all those other years. So, and those were all good teams, that were on the field in those. So, like I said, it's what happened a couple weeks ago has absolutely nothing to do with what's going to happen Friday night. I don't think.
Well, Coach, being the OG of Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, I want you to ask yourself, compare this team, because this team seems special. There's a different vibe. It just seems like you guys are doing some phenomenal things, and you're getting to practice on Thanksgiving. I mean, everybody's goal is to get into that phase. Tell me about this team compared to the other state championship teams you're a part of, and see if you can compare and contrast a little bit for us.
Well, I think one of the biggest differences, Sam, is those other teams were really hyped coming into the season. I mean, that 2009 team, a lot of those same kids were the ones that, had beaten Independence back in 2007 and, broke that streak. So, everybody knew those guys were going to be good coming in. And, obviously the 2010 team, 2012 team, everybody knew those were going to be great teams. And, we were, I think we were ranked pretty high to start the year, but I think, in a lot of conversations about state champions and things like that, I think we were kind of forgotten about. So, I think that's one big difference is this team is, as much as we could sneak up on people, I guess you could say this group kind of did.
That's a great point. And I love you saying that. I think maybe it got to the underdog, no point in taking, losing the first game because you had a lot of guys out going into that game. But it kind of put things in perspective for you guys, and you're pretty amazing right now. I mean, all cylinders flying, but doing a
Yeah.
great job. Proud of you.
You know, and that was the thing, and you guys know that as well. Sometimes you need an L. You know, I mean, if we would have played the way we did and got out of there and snuck out and say we would have kicked a field goal, won by a point, you know, the plays that we took off and all the mistakes we made it would have been harder to correct those. But the fact that we weren't able to win the game, now you guys know you have a much more willing audience, you know, ready to take your coaching, ready to take your corrections, and you know, ready to put in the work that they need to become the team that they can be.
And, you know, I'll tell you what, I think in the Matthews community, I grew up in Matthews, Mint Hill area, went to Butler High School. I think we need this on Thanksgiving. I know that no one wanted to pencil in like, man, this is a potential rematch in week 4. How exciting is this to get to play at the sand pit, the dog pound on Thanksgiving? It's almost like we get our own gift right now.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I mean, we've been there. We love doing it. You know, hearing from even former players' parents reaching out, say, hey, how many donuts do we need to bring and things like that. It's just, you know, and I mean, what a better way to spend the holidays than with our neighbors and friends from Mint Hill. So it'll be a lot of fun this week.
Definitely, Coach. We're excited to see it. Whether I'm there on NFHS Network, I'll definitely be tuned in. But best of luck to you. Big time game at the Sand Pit. I think the Pound Pit, Dog Pound. We're gonna figure out a new name for you guys. But Coach, definitely best of luck, and we look forward, as always, to talking with you soon.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, talking preps. Hey, you know, this time of year, we only have the big coaches with the big time games. It's Thanksgiving week, and for some reason, this guy continues to be ready for big time coaching performances. We've got DJ McFadden on, the head coach of Independence High School. Coach McFadden, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas? Doing good. Appreciate you having me.
I feel like he's starting to become, with the spaces and all that, he's starting to become like a guest guy. We got to get him on the guest spot whenever he finishes in December or January. You know what I'm saying? Because he's starting to be there. But, you know, let's go ahead and get into it, Coach. You know, I of course, have that direct experience of going up to Watauga, playing against a good team, and watching you guys. I, of course, watched the first half, and it actually was a little bit competitive. And I saw you guys just basically did what you had to do. Can you just go talk about that big win and going up there? And also, too, I was able to see your team in the first part of the year versus now. And I've got to say, to see how you guys have improved, I see it from the outside and it looks very, stark difference. Talk about those two things about your team.
Yeah, as far as Watauga, we felt good about it. We had a good week of practice. Dealing with that triple option and all the stuff they do with the formations and the motions. I thought our kids handled the week well, picked up on it pretty good. It's funny because I woke up Friday morning and when I was headed to school, I walked outside at 6:30 and I was expecting it to be cold. And I'm like, it feels good. And then I checked real quick. I checked what Boone was going to be like, and it was like 52 at 9. And I was like, oh, they in trouble. So we got blessed with good weather. It was a great night. Kids came out and played well. We was able to get some stops and kind of get them from playing from behind. And man, just very pleased with how they played. And we've been growing throughout the whole year. We started off 1-2, and we felt like, people kind of rolled us off a little bit, but we just kind of kept working and kept chopping wood and kept, controlling the things that we can control and getting better every day and every game and every rep. And here we are. We learned from the loss that we took from Butler at the end of the year, and we didn't let that kind of linger into the following week playing Lake Norman. We've been playing good ball. We're battle tested. We've been on the road all year long. We won big games on the road. So we're very pleased at where we're at. We understand that the job's not finished. We got goals that we still want to reach, and I'm going to try and go 1-0 this week.
That's big time, man. And just to piggyback off what you just said, you learned from the Butler game. Talk about, I know you're not going to give away the game plan of what you're exactly going to do, but going to play someone back, especially a rivalry game, talk about the magnitude and the opportunity. Are you actually going to get to play for the trophy again? That's something else I'd be curious about. Just talk about that, elaborate a little bit for us.
No, I don't think the trophy would be on the line. I mean, this ain't necessarily the rivalry game. And that's what we're preaching to our kids. This is a 4th round game. We can't get caught up in the Independence Butler, get revenge, this, that, and the third. We're not out to get revenge or nothing like that. We're trying to advance to the 5th round. And that's our goal right now. Of course, we understand who we're playing against, and that kind of ups the ante a little bit. We're excited for that. It's not often you get a chance to, kind of undo something that didn't go your way the first go round. And we just feel like we got to play better. We feel like we didn't play well the first game. We feel like as far as man to a man, winning our one-on-one battles, we didn't do that well enough. And even with that, we didn't execute the ball well enough. We didn't tackle the ball well enough. And with all that, it was a 6-point ball game with 5 minutes left to go. That last touchdown was just kind of like the backbreaker that they got late. So, yeah, man, we just feel like if we can play better and just execute the football better, we'll be in good shape. We're excited, though. We're excited to get to work on Monday, more importantly. We had a good day yesterday, so, excited to get the week started.
Well, that's good, man. Just like your shape up and your lighting and everything's improved throughout the year, your team's improving. One question, if you had to give one position group out of the whole group, I know they're all doing better. What's the one position group you think has excelled throughout the year for you guys?
It's got to be our O-line. We were young starting the year, playing with a freshman, playing with a guy that's played D-line for 2 years, and playing with 2 guys who were, juniors on JV, stepping up playing varsity this year. So they've gotten better throughout the year, just kind of gelling as a group, playing more physical, and, just battling through injuries. You know how it is playing this late in the game with Knicks and X. So we got some guys healthy that'll be back that kind of missed the first game we played these guys. So we'll see how it goes. Another group, man, is our receivers. I think our receivers have kind of stepped up and started playing well. Early in the year, it was a struggle for us kind of throwing the football around the yard, just guys getting comfortable in the system, me, again, getting comfortable with what guys can do. So I think, as we hit that Catholic game since then, our receivers have been playing very well. Vontrez Birch, to be more exact, he's had an outstanding season. So, yeah, man, expecting more from those 2 groups as we move into this Friday.
Definitely, Coach. I mean, again, we love having you on. I always laughed how you kind of preached patience a little bit in the beginning. I think of your coaching tenure at the school, it's funny that train continues to keep rolling, and I think you've got Independence back in a very familiar position. So, again, we're glad to have you on. Again, best of luck as what's going to be a rocking game this Black Friday night. And, I'm sure we'll have you on here in the near future, Coach.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me, man. Take care.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, guys, we're back. Great interviews, Grice and Griner. What do you guys think about, and Griner, we'll start with you, your alma mater, Butler's hosting. What do you think about this game? 30 seconds.
Oh, phenomenal game. I'll be there Friday. I can't wait to check it out. Love both head coaches, both passionate. I mean, we circled this possibly that we could see this, and now it's here. I think it's going to come down in the trenches. Who's the most physical team in the trenches is going to win the game. Who's moving another man against his will is going to win the game right here. It's going to come down to that, just in the trenches.
Grace.
I love this game. Again, I think both of these teams have proven time and time out that they're made for this. It's cool to see, Coach DJ and Coach Hales having worked together before. I think that's the fun part for me, is there's a mutual level of just healthy respect, but the competitive nature on both sides is sky high. And I think you rarely see that healthy rivalry like that. And they're doing it kind of like how it used to be, but it's a different flavor. Ain't no puppy dog comments anymore. These are 2 guys that are ready to smack the heck out of each other. And again, as Coach said, it ain't no rivalry in this situation. The trophy ain't up for grabs. This is a playoff game to get ready to go to the regional final.
Yeah, Guru, I love that comment.
Guru, I want to ask your pick in this game, but one thing that Hales did say is that when these teams have met twice, the team that won the first game has won the second game too. What's your pick?
I agree. And I definitely think that Butler's favored, not because Independence isn't worthy. Independence is a phenomenal team, and, they've shown that being able to get to this round. But I just think as to everything, that Grice said, that Griner said, I want to echo, I think this game's going to be won in the trenches. I think that the defense is going to win it. And I just think that Butler's a little bit with an advantage right there. But that's not saying I think Butler's going to win. But it's just going to be that type of game back and forth. It's going to be a heck of a game. It's going to be so good that I think the fans are going to need to pay for another ticket on the way out the gate because it's going to be worth more than they pay. But I'm going to disagree with the masses. I think this game should be moved somewhere else other than Butler so it can fit more fans.
man. Only about 3,000.
Boo.
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 Hey, the Douglasburg coach I knew. Oh my gosh,
Grandma
he
can't
would be
see the
pissed
game.
off
That's
right
that's
now.
the
No.
that's the big thing. All right, now it's time for the most important part of the show. We're going to find out who Grice and Griner picked as the 3 finalists for Mr. Football. And after that, we're going to take a break. We'll come back with Coach versus Coach.
All right, what's going on, Griner? Hey, we got the G&G combo back here for something a little bit more important than some gems, man. This is for Mr. Football. Let's go ahead and pull up that Elite 8 that have been lucky to make it here for the 2023 season. We've got some really great names here. Again, this was a tough job, had a lot of help. Coach Griner, I thank you, for a lot of the great and valuable input that you've provided to help us, to get to this number. Griner, anything you want to say about this quality Elite 8 here?
And just for everybody to know that, Grice and Chris Hughes and Langston and myself, we do a lot of background checking, researching, watching film. These 8 all are very deserving of Mr. Football, and we're going to cut it down to 3. We're going to have a gold medalist, a silverist, and a bronze. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited to get to it, brother. This is big time. This is a big event. Mr. Football in North Carolina. Go ahead, Grice. Do your thing, brother.
Definitely. Without further ado, let's get to those 3. We're going to break them down one by one. Let's start with the first, guys. Coach Griner always says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I think he stole that from somebody. Our first guy is going to be Jaden Davis out of Providence Day. Again, this guy, has had a wonderful year, thrown for over 3,000 yards and over 40 touchdowns. He ended his season in style the way that he likes to end his season. That's right, with the state championship. This year, in some get back against Raven Gap, actually did it in Georgia. Had almost 300 yards and a couple touchdowns and a big time come from behind, amazing victory there to secure his state championship in his final game. This Michigan commit has been phenomenal all year, starting with one of the most impressive performances of the season versus Northwestern in the Carolina Panthers Stadium. That's the way you kick off your senior year, and he's been consistently great all year, not throwing an interception until well into the season. He's had a great year, and it's no surprise he's our first finalist for Mr. Football. Let's go to finalist number 2, and I'll pass this over to Coach Sam Griner, who's more than aware of this guy's amazing ability.
Yeah, no doubt. This kid deserves every bit of it. He might be 5'9", 5'10", but I tell you what, his heart says he's 6'7", 220 pounds of just pure warriorness. His stats are amazing this year, well over 3,000 yards. A lot of it's coming from rushing as well on top of that. That's what people don't give him credit for. His escape ability to extend the play to get the ball to the athletes is just phenomenal, bar none. One of the best I've ever seen. Down in this past game of that multiple touchdowns, not getting enough credit for 2-point conversions. That's a one play. That's hit or miss. There is no second down. I would like to know with the stats, and maybe we'll have to get that, of how many 2-point conversions he's completed on the season, because it's phenomenal, high risk, high reward. He got 3 of them in a row versus us to move to the next round, and they're practicing on Thanksgiving. But this kid is probably the most elite talent I've seen all year long. Welcome to the final 3, Mr. Husky.
Those 2 are definitely well-deserved. Let's go to our third finalist. That is Zay Jones out of Scotland County. This guy was almost over 2,000 yards this season. I mean, again, we know Coach Richard Bailey has always had great, running backs, and this guy seems to fit into that mold. A guy that's, of course, unfortunately ended his season in the playoffs this year, but as we can see with his downhill running ability, the ability to make that one cut and go, and once he gets going, he is a hard guy to bring down. He has been doing it all year as a guy that that is getting the ball from play 1 to the last play of the game, and he's issuing that challenge to see if you can stop him. So a phenomenal guy who's had a great year. As you can see, his yards after contact probably are better than most high school running backs just using that number, a guy that we're glad to have as our third finalist for Mr. Football. So again, these are our 3 Mr. Football finalists. Again, Jaden Davis, Natavius Tater Husky out of Crest, and Zay Jones out of Scotland County. To our other finalists, and those to our other Elite 8 finalists, we were salute to you guys. You guys have had incredible years, but these 3 guys will be competing for Mr. Football, which we will release the first week of December. Again, that winner of Mr. Football is going to receive a banner and a flag that will be presented to you at your school by the star of the show himself, Coach Sam Griner. So we're excited for our Mr. Football finalist here, and get ready because we're going to name a winner very soon.
Thanks, you guys. Great performances all year. We really appreciate you. We look forward to being at your school and welcoming one of these three as Mr. Football. Congratulations on phenomenal years.
Deer Park is celebrating its 150th anniversary. Let's take a look back.
Deer Park, that's good water.
You can taste how pure Deer Park is.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Filtered naturally beneath the earth for a crisp, refreshing taste.
Deer Park.
Deer Park,
Deer Park. Deer Park.
that's still good water.
After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
How did you all get in here?
All right, here we are, men. That time of day. Let's lock the doors.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
All right, man, here we are heading into the fifth week, or the fourth week, I should say, of the playoffs. Once again, coach versus coach. I got my man, Coach Griner, Coach Grice on the other side. We did the customary coin toss, and Coach Grice decided he wanted to receive today, right?
Always.
All right. All right, Coach Grice, this one here's for you. Question number one. Better NFL prospect, Caleb Williams or Drake May? Who should be number one? I think I know your answer.
I mean, I think I know Griner's answer. This is like asking if Griner's going to blitz if I come out in empty formation. The answer is yes, he's bringing 6. Caleb Williams is the guy. I mean, I know we love Drake May. Again, I will always support Drake May and root for him from doing it for this area. That part is unquestionable. But the biggest piece we're seeing about a great quarterback, a great example is here in Charlotte with Bryce Young. He has all the tools that are necessary. The biggest problem is him having that size and having that ability to create outside of the pocket. You don't get to draft your lineman number one as well with you. You don't get to bring those Alabama offensive linemen with you. Bryce Young didn't. Caleb Williams might actually be happy he isn't bringing his offensive lineman or his defense, but he's going to be happy. He's going to be the best pick because he can do it all. He has the frame to be able to get out of trouble, make those D linemen really have to work hard to get up to the ground, and he has that Patrick Mahomes-esque ability to create and make some wonderful things happen. Mahomes did it in Texas Tech very well and was very similar with having that so-so defense but creating a lot of offense by himself. This guy's going to be dang good too. Take him number one.
I hope you like Chicago.
Yeah, that is no doubt about it. That should be the question. Who's going to be the number one overall pick? It's going to be Chicago, no doubt. Thankful for the Panthers. Here's the deal. Like, Caleb Williams is going to go number one overall, but I am not going to put my number one pick. I'm taking Drake May because he does not paint his fingernails. There's no way I'm taking the leader of my team that paints his fingernails. It just shows that there's some type of toughness that's not quite there. I want a guy that's going to run through your face and get the extra yard if he had to. I like Drake May to do that. I'm going to stick by him. I always said he was the most talented guy I've ever seen come out of a high school, and I'm going to stick by that now. And I think you're going to see in 5 years from now, you're going to see Drake May standing tall just because his knuckles are a little bit more dirtier than them little polished fingernails that Caleb Williams has.
Man, toughness, Griner. He's going out there knowing his defense is going to give up 60.
That's my segment. You receive. Hey,
8 touchdowns and rush for 3. That's toughness right there.
You received. You deferred. You kicked.
Bears better buck the trend. They need to draft a lineman. Hey, I'm going to stick with you, Coach. Would the new South Carolina multiplier rule that's in effect, would that work with North Carolina's with the charters and the parochials? I think you get 3 to every 1 is the way it's set up.
Yeah, you'd have to explain the multiplier rule to me a little bit right here for me to understand if it would work in North Carolina. And I'm going to defer to you, Guru. Explain the multiplier exactly how that works, and then I can give you a comment.
So for every one person that you get into your school, whether it's from out of your district or from another school, I believe for every one, it has to count as 3 towards your overall ADM. So basically it inflates your ADM to put you up towards where maybe you should be based off of the amount of kids that you're bringing in.
Yeah, I would be down for that. Then if I'm getting one guy that equals 3 people that can make a factor, then I definitely would be all for that because all you need is 11 great ones on the field. And so if it hurts the ADM and that counts as a 33, if I got 11 great ones, then I would definitely be down with that.
It's South Carolina, man. We need to get our boy Jerome back on here, man. We got our boy Jerome still today, the head of the South Carolina that was the NCHSAA. I think they know they have a great collegiate problem. They don't want to say anything, and it's a couple other schools there, but it's really this is the great collegiate rule. They need to do what I've seen other states do. I've seen some out west do that. For teams that excel in certain divisions, you move them up. That goes across the board. For teams that are excelling, they play up and they punch above their weight. They need to play in the division of the quality of the sport that they're playing. And again, the freedom to do that, that may be a 4A football school and maybe a 2A basketball school in some cases. The ability and what we're trying to get here is competitiveness and athletics, no matter what sport it is. Forget the whole, we're going to use math. And when has math ever worked on a football field? Outside of counting to 10 and determining how many downs you got. And we still have trouble, apparently, with some people keeping up with that. So math is not going to work in this situation. What we need to do is place these teams where they're supposed to go. Put Gray as a 4A team and have them go against James Island or Irmo in that lower state, or have them deal with Midland Valley or West Side or Greenville, one of these teams, and see if they can handle business there. I think they could compete there, and I think it would be less of an issue. The biggest part for me is I think they need to be more upfront, tell these schools, hey, you're excelling because you're a great football program, regardless of who you are. And I've seen some of these kids. Gray is similar to Catholic in that they don't have these amazing 20 D1 athletes and whatever. They have a program and a culture, it seems like, that's far superior to those in their area. Put them where they're supposed to go. Cut the indirect soft crap. Put them in the place where they're supposed to go. Let them go excel.
I agree with that. That was a well said, really well said.
Props to Grice for knowing the South Carolina geography. So, hey, we're going to stick with you, Grice, on this final question here, Coach versus Coach. Question number 3. In a 6-week, is a 6-week playoff too long? North Carolina's still got another week of playoffs after South Carolina completes. I've got my answer. I want to hear yours.
I'll take it. I don't think it's too long for what we get. I can understand why some people think so. I do like the ability to get teams to the playoffs. Some of the more cynical folks think it's, to pad the NCHSAA coffers. I can completely understand that. And when you look at some of maybe the 1A or even 2A brackets, but I think within the 4A, you look at situations where you've got a team like was it Independence? I think it's a 23 or I can't even remember how low their seed is. You look at us even at Hickory Ridge. We were up at halftime over the number 2 seed, regardless of however you put them or where they are with our record and our tough schedule. You may not feel like that we got in, but that first half and really well into the fourth quarter of a 2-score game, we showed our worth and showed our mettle regarding that. I think this state is deep enough and is a lot deeper than South Carolina. And what you'll see a lot of times in South Carolina with 5A, they don't have a ton of schools in that, to fill that out. I think they're smaller than 1A. And maybe as we get bigger and as we expand our classifications, that'll take care of itself. But if you're going to give us 4 classifications, 4 state championships, you need to give a lot more teams the opportunity to play for it. And you might surprise yourself as we're seeing some teams that are really showing up there. Hey, I see you, Shelby. Teams that were a little lower in that bracket work their way up to play when it matters.
I'm going to disagree with this one, actually, because I hate the number 6, first of all. But I think that imagine the teams have an 11th game like we used to have, that endowment game. I think that more teams are going to be involved and they get a little bit more football. There's a lot of teams that didn't even make it in there that, like a Concord or whatever the case may be, that rightfully probably could have been in there and they still didn't get into the playoffs. I would love to see that maybe you would see 4 first-round buys for the top 4 teams fighting for that to earn that little bit of extra buy later in the year when you get into the playoffs. I would like to see that aspect of 5 weeks with a bye. I think you can get the same benefit. A lot of teams still involved, but I think 5 weeks is perfect to be able to get to the state championship, not quite 6, and have an 11th game like we used to have with the endowment. I like that aspect better.
I agree. I think 6 is way too many. And I think the way to get away from 6, but to also alleviate the kind of the things that Grice is concerned is that to realign the school systems or the schools where you've got 6 classifications or 7 classifications, and then how to get the teams that need to be in without playing for an extra week.
Yeah, it's a good conversation, fellas. I appreciate it. We're going to put the big man in this one shot. What's your final thought?
Yeah. It hurts. There's no Thanksgiving practice, but congrats to all the coaches that will be practicing on Thanksgiving Day. It's a goal for every coach and staff to be able to just be with your family and the aspect of your family on the field as well. And congratulations, getting to practice at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, whatever you guys are doing. Congratulations. I hope you're getting some Bojangles biscuits or something for the guys, but congratulations. Enjoy that moment and then go get them Friday night.
All right. Well, that's another edition of Talking Preps. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back next week. If you follow us on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell so you can subscribe. If you follow us on Twitter, make sure you share You share and subscribe. That's Sam Griner. That's the coach. That's Jonathan Grice, the number 2 voice of high school football. That's the guru who's really back. Number 1 voice of high school football. Put 1,000 miles in this car last weekend. The guru's back.
He did. He back. He back now.
I'm really back. Read between the lines. I'm really back.
Yeah.
I'm Langston, and we are Talking Football.